I'm Goldie. I recently read Elevation by Stephen King. As a Stephen King novel, you would expect it to be a fictional horror novel, but Elevation doesn't conform to King's style. If anything, I'd classify Elevation as a selective fantasy novel, considering that its characters exist in the real world, but its events are not possible. Stephen King strayed from his normal lengthy stories with this novel that shows us how things we don't expect can bring about insightful change in our lives. In Elevation, we meet a middle-aged man from Castle Rock named Scott Carey. Completely normal, except Scott can't explain his scale weight. In fact, neither can his friend and Dr. Bob Ellis. Scott's scale says that he's continuously losing weight, and his physical appearance is saying otherwise. This new dilemma in Scott's life presents itself at the same time as his new neighbors are settling in. Deidre McComb, an uptight champion marathon runner, and her kind wife, Missy Donaldson, own a dog. Deidre and Missy pay no mind when Scott's yard is used as a restroom, and Scott cannot seem to reason with him. Despite such conflicts, an annual 5K run, a closing diner, and Scott's unexplainable physical condition allow Scott to see the discrimination in his community. With Scott's newfound insight, he was able to make friends, better himself, and positively impact his community. Personally, what I loved about this book was that even with an unusual element that afflicted the main character, Scott, the other characters were all real. They had their own stories, traits, and motives. No character was included solely to benefit the main character or to play the antagonist. Castle Rock was filled with realistic townspeople, some open-minded and progressive, others conservative and prejudiced. Scott's neighbors, Deidre and Missy, were well-paired, free of stereotypes, and faced their own challenges and offered brilliant representation for the LGBTQA+ community. The characters all interacted in such a way that allowed the story to effortlessly progress in my mind and allowed me to make connections between the characters and the people I know. While this book technically qualifies as fantasy, I would say if you like fiction or realistic setting fantasy, you will enjoy this book because it has everyday events and locations with an impossible looming twist that drives the main character. Elevation reminds me of The Boy Who Couldn't Sleep and Never Had to by D.C. Pearson, because they both revolve around a character who has an unbelievable ailment, but they learn to live with it, and they're forced to make a decision that will affect the rest of their lives. Elevation by Stephen King is a wonderful book about shattered expectations and new revelations, and I think if you took the time to read it, you'd surely be glad you did. Thanks for watching.